Okay, we're back. Well, we are back. So I apologize about the technical difficulties that we had previously. So now we're back. We're back live again. So if you are watching and tuning in, please do me a favor. Go ahead and share the broadcast, and I'm going to do the same thing here. What is going on? So we'll just wait for that to pop up. I think we're on live right now. Okay, so let's see. Why isn't it showing up here? Let's see. All right, let's double check to make sure we're up. Let's go here. Yeah, just bear with me a second while we sort this out. My Facebook page, let me just double check to make sure it's broadcasting and that we don't have any more technical issues as we did earlier. All righty. Okay, so let's see. All right, looks like we're back on again. I thought maybe somebody pulled the plug on the show, but we got that all sorted out, and we're back on the air again. So thank you for tuning in. Thank you for your patience. If you are watching, let me just turn off the notifications again. Let's do that so that we don't get interrupted. Okay, so looks like we're back on the air. All righty. Well, welcome back, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in for today. I will start with the screen sharing and we will continue with our broadcasts. Okay, so let's start from the beginning. Here we are. Okay, so today is the last episode for the Trinity of Evil. We talked about power previously, we talked about greed, and then today we're going to be talking about control and what happens when it goes unchecked and unrestrained. All right, and if you're wondering why my hair is standing up, it's because these kind of things, when I put the stuff together and our investigation team dig up stuff, it scares the bejeebies out of me. It makes my hair stand up. So maybe you might want to put on your seatbelt for this episode. Okay. Let me just make some few more adjustments here so it doesn't block out some of the content. All right. Okay, my disclaimer again, my opinions are based on public information that I have. These evidence is available to the public. You can draw your own conclusion. I'm not here to destroy Buddhism, nor am I here to slander anyone. The current board of directors, your members are welcome to come and discuss these issues that have been talked about on the show. Eileen Janda, you specifically, you can connect with me on Facebook. We would love it for you guys to come out and tell your side of the story. It is in the best interest of the public to get the truth out. And of course, if I misstate anything, you're welcome to contact me with supporting evidence. What I will not do is get into a thumb wrestling contest over conjecture. Lastly, as viewers, I strongly suggest that you do your own research and come to your own conclusion. Okay. Just a recap about last week, we did the Trinity of Evil. We covered greed. So let me just go ahead and summarize some of that for you. At the conclusion of that, we basically said there's really no end to their greed. And we talked about the loans that were taken out in 2012. Some of the disbursements have been unaccounted for. 2017, two loans, the stopgap loan, which was a 1-year loan, and then the 5-year loan. The disbursement on those loans are still unaccounted for. There is an attempt, right, to take money from Kuba Edward. When that failed, he got kicked out of the Wat Lao Budabong. Okay, so a monk was exiled from Wat Lao Budabong because they wanted to keep, Janda wanted to keep his check, Kuba Edward's check of worth $30,000. And when he failed, he basically said, here's your check, now get the heck out, right? So then Kuba Edward was exiled from Wat Lao Budabong. That's not the first time. The second monk that was exiled from Wat Lao Budabong is Kuba La. And Kuba La, we have no idea why Janda kicked him out. Okay. And then of course, Janda took $28,000 from Ajahn Bunmi. And then there's also this missing now $392,000 from Kubasom's wrongful death settlement that's been unaccounted for. And of course, cash donations over time with Wat Lao Buddha Wones going back as far as 2003 when Eileen came into power. Yet the community has to receive an answer. Okay, so these questions that I have here is that there's been numerous different types of fundraising campaigns, specifically with the Tat Luang construction. Whatever happened to the money that was raised for that, because the construction did not happen? What about the community center? What about the soccer field? What about the road improvements? What about the Naka? Some community members paid as much as $1,500 to have their name up there, and that never happened. And the stupas, some community members have paid $3,500 in advance for the stupas. It's no different from entering into a contract with a company that would give you a niche inside a mausoleum. So it's a binding contract. When you put money down for it, then you have that real estate or that property for your family. And so for those of us who are planning ahead, they never received what they paid for. And then of course, what about the money that was coming from the illegal dumping? Who pocketed all that money? Was there certain fees that was being charged? We believe that there is, based on community report. So if they're using the temple property to bring in revenue, some of that revenue has still been unaccounted for. Okay, so and then of course there's rumors about monks being charged rent, right? Who does that go to if not to the temple? That the the property is owned by the entity. So since 2009, the advisory board came together, and when they do their deep dive into the operations of Wat Lao Buddha Wong, they find that there's too much self-dealing. Has that been addressed? Has that been resolved? I don't believe it has, right? And then, of course, over 10 years, based on their the civil suit, there's about $300,000 in donation is what they claim. So, which means over 10 years, that's about $3 million. That's been unaccounted for. So these empty promises over the last 20 years, right? Nothing has become of it. So it's just been fundraising after fundraising. And there's just doesn't seem to be an end to their greed. Okay, so just to kind of summarize episode 4, in case you're looking for a quick summary, we calculated the opportunity cost to be in the neighborhood of $594,000. Opportunity cost being that's money being spent on something else that could have gone to improve Wat Lao Buddha Wong, that could have gone to programs such as language programs, Buddhism programs, things that would benefit the community. Opportunity cost in the sense that the amount of money that was paid into the interest of the loans since 2012 is in excess of $240,000 already. So that's money that's coming from the community, going to the temple, and then going to somebody else. So those financial institutions are making money off the community because of the loan facility. And there's also this financial cost that's coming up in 2022. Around October timeframe, I believe, is when the loan is going to be due. So that's another $500,000 that the community will have to fork out. Because I don't think Eileen's going to pay for that loan. I don't think Jenda is going to pay for that loan. I don't think any of the board of directors are going to pay for that loan. So that money has to come from somewhere, right? So that's the financial cost of the community. Add everything up, we conclude that the total amount would be a burden to the community in excess of $1 million. So that's what happens when you have greed that goes unchecked and unrestrained. The community holds the bag, okay? And this is the sad part of it, right? The future of Wat Lao Buddha Wong is in jeopardy. The future of Wat Lao Buddha Wong is in jeopardy. There's this financial liability that comes up, okay? So that was episode number 4. In a nutshell, is what you see here. All the activities over the years culminated to an opportunity cost and a hard financial cost up and coming in excess of $1 million, right? So if you're sitting there on the other side, people that are continuing to support Janda, when I say burden to the community, that includes you. That includes you guys. You think it has nothing to do with you. All of you guys who are supporting Janda right now, going to the what on a daily basis, and you're making a donation, that's going to be part of that $1 million, guys. So if you think you can sustain the what operation that has a burn rate of about $10,000 a month, I don't think you can. I honestly do not think you can. Some of you may be able to donate consistently $500, $200. From what we've seen so far, that is not even close to what it will cost to run the entire operation. You still have insurance that you have to pay for, right? That's required because when they took out the loan, the institutions required them to take out insurance. Okay, so that's an additional cost that you have to pay for. And if you look at the 2018 consolidated financial report, they're paying about $24,000 a year in just the loan interest itself, right? So add that on top of utility bills, that it's about $28,000. I mean, all of a sudden you guys have a burn rate of about $10,000 a month. Okay, wake up. You can't do this on your own. You want to support corruption? Corruption will consume you first. One of these days, you're going to have a hard look at Janda and then have a hard look at your family. And then you have to make a decision. Do I support my family or do I support Janda? And if you're not already there, you're going to get there very soon. I guarantee you, you're going to get there very, very soon. So think about this, right? That money that you're putting into what Labo de Wong, where is that money going? You guys are paying the banks for the loan, the interest of the loan. How is that going to change the programs and services that what Labo de Wong should be offering to the community, right? Ask yourself this question. How are you benefiting from this? How is the community benefiting from this? Okay. And if the answer is, I don't care, then, hey, that's your money. You can do whatever you want with it. All I'm saying is follow the path of the money. Is that how you want your money to be used? Especially in a pandemic where the economy is going down the toilet, unemployment rate is so high. It's very, very difficult for all of us to make financial contributions, even to a worthy cause, such as United Way or the shelter home for orphan children. It's been increasingly difficult even for businesses to stay alive, especially restaurants, right? For every dollar, what used to be a dollar is probably more important than just a dollar in today's economy. So think about where that money is going and have some serious conversations. If you still continue to support Janda, that's perfectly fine. But have some important conversation with them, especially the treasurers, right? Sankian, you're a treasurer. Leila, you're a treasurer, right? Ask them some hard questions. For every dollar that's coming in, you're scraping to get that dollar. Where is that dollar going? And who is it benefiting? Okay. I can tell you, you're not the first one in line. I can tell you that the financial institution is the first one in line. BBT, they have a loan, they have interest, they have a contract. It's a binding contract. And if what Labo de Wong, for some reason or another, begins to default on that loan, worse things can happen. All right. Today, we're going to conclude our last triangle. Okay. And it's about control. Yeah. Oh, Janda wants to be in the picture too. Fine. Yeah. Welcome to the party, Janda. You can't have one without you. Okay. So the puppet masters, right? So those of you who are tuning in, go get your popcorn. Grab your popcorn. I'll wait. I'll give it about 30 seconds. Go grab your popcorn. And then we'll get started. All righty. So let's take a look what we're talking about when we talk about control. Enters the puppet master Janda. Okay, let's look at the strings that he pulls. His rise to power in 2016 as a president of a Hmong council, he still has a lot of influence within the Hmong council. We know this because when we went to the Hmong council to ask for their assistance to defrock Janda, they tell us they don't have the authority. In fact, Janda supporter within the Hmong Council, and I'm not saying the Hmong Council in general is bad. I'm just saying the people that support Janda are still within the Hmong Council, and they still hold a tremendous amount of power. The person who's in charge of discipline of monks, right, are not even on our side, despite the overwhelming evidence that we've provided to them. In fact, one of the monks, I'm not going to call him out, but I think most people know who he is. He says that when it comes to sexual misconduct, half penetration is not a violation. Okay. I thought if you're a monk, if you drop your pants, that is a violation. Am I wrong? Right? So he does still have power within the Hmong Council. He has an iron grip, right, on the board membership for many, many years. The only people that can get into the board of directors, Wat Lao Buddha board of directors, if he gives them a rubber stamp. Okay, unless you get a rubber stamp from Janda, forget about it. You're not going to be able to get onto the board, even though the board of directors should be elected to represent the community. So he's running this nonprofit, public nonprofit, as though it is a private foundation. He's running it with an iron grip, right? They call it the Machiavellian glove. And there's also blind loyalty. And blind loyalty here comes from many different people across the United States and across the world. What I mean by blind loyalty here is just because Janda is a monk, you put him on a pedestal. He can do no wrong, okay? This monk cannot do any wrong. Okay, well, wake the hell up. Read about the jet set monk. He was arrested and actually he flee from Thailand after he swindled about what, $30 million out from Buddhist society, right? And then he lives this lavish lifestyle, private jet. You know, he's moving all over the world. He's just personal self-interest and self-dealing. So if you think that Janda is not capable of doing that too, you need to really pay attention. You need to really pay attention. And I'm talking to some of his supporters that are out there right now, especially the ones that are related to Janda. You guys seem to be the most vigilant supporters of Janda, and you fail to see what's on the table, the truth, okay? Bun, Spin Dr. Tong, look at the evidence. And how does he control the board? Well, he stacks the deck, right? He puts his two brothers, right? Both of them are monk. One of them has gone back to Laos. The other one is still here. And guess what? Ong Ta is a board of director. How does that come to be? Okay. And then of course he handpicks his cronies. We know that from April 2020, all the people that were added to the board of directors are his handpicked cronies. There was no election. And of course, right, he carries around the honorary doctorate degree that he got from Thailand. And we know that this degree that he received was fraught with just misuse of funds and lies after lies after lies, right? And so a lot of the community members don't respect him with the honorary degree. Their strong opinion is he paid for it. He bought the doctorate's degree. And then of course, wherever he travels, right, he's got the rock star monk lifestyle. When he goes to Thailand, they pick him up in a limousine. He stays at 5-star hotels, okay? And then there's also this quite a bit of interesting things about that happen here domestically as well as overseas in terms of his property investments in different properties and business ventures over time. And of course, there's illegal dumping using the temple as a side business. There's rumors about him being a bookie for quite some time. I'm talking about Janda. And of course, Janda has a huge amount of control over the community because of his gifted silver tongue. Liar, liar, pants on fire, right? A lot of people still believe what Janda has to tell them. We have a video of Janda lying to the community. Straight out lying to the community. He says that I'm going to reach out to my network of people and I'm going to raise the money to pay off the loan. He says that I'm going to get $2,500 from each of these individuals and to the point where I can pay off the loan. That was back in October. Where the hell is it, Janda? Where the hell is the money? Right? Also, in that same video, what did he say? He says, you don't have to expel me. What I'm going to do is after we pansa, I will leave myself. Well, that didn't happen. Okay. So for those of us who are following Janda blindly because of the power of the silver tongue, you need to be very, very careful. You need to be careful. And then the other thing that he uses to continue to have people support him is the power of the cloth, right? He considers himself a monk. Some people still consider him a monk. And as a result of being in the robe, he's untouchable. So with that said, let me just move this out of the way a little bit so you can see the screen. All right. So with that said, let's take a look at some of the controls that he has over the community. Not everybody in the community is a puppet. There's a select few that are puppets to Janda. And of the list that I showed you earlier, I'm just going to focus on just the three main ones. And so you can see what I mean by his influence, right? When he pulls a string, what happens? When he uses the power of the cloth, what happens? Okay, so these are the strings that he pulls. He pulls that string, it goes into a group of community members. Some of them react differently, others react to what Janda wants to do. So in many ways, their behavior is hooked on ideology. Monks are superhuman. They don't lie, they don't steal, they don't commit crime. So when you bring this up to them, what you see is they just go into denial, right? The power of the cloth means that he, as the deputy abbot, can give power and status within the community. If you fall under his grace, he can elevate your power and status within the community. And so as a result of that, people succumb to his will. Blind loyalty, I talked about, it comes in many different forms, but the end result here is very simple, right? Their behavior is hooked on intrinsic and or monetary rewards. See no evil, hear no evil kind of thing, right? And then what happens when he has, uses his the silver tongue over the years? People get misinformation, but because of who we are as an ethnic group and our culture, we are conflict avoidance group. In other words, we don't talk about these things openly. We don't confront authority. We don't raise issues with things we don't like. We allow that to happen because of conflict avoidance. So there again, our behavior is hooked on his silver tongue. Okay. And then, of course, there's a group of people that takes his word for gospel, right? See no evil, hear no evil. And as a result of that, it causes confusion and denial within the community. Who's right, who's wrong? And that's the whole idea, is to create division, is to create confusion, and to create denial. Some people in our community firmly believe Janda's word for what it is. And if you talk to them, they'll just cover you, just like this picture that I show you at the bottom, right? I don't want to hear. Move on. I don't believe you. Move on, right? And then, of course, the last one is, this one is covered up. So let me move this one out of the way a little bit here. Let me move this one. I got to put this somewhere. How do I make this one smaller? So again, because of his silver tongue and ability to manipulate people, people are hooked on the fact that Janda is telling the truth, even though he lies about alleged sexual misconduct. I mean, most of us heard from the victims. We had one person testify at the defrocking hearing. We had Mr. D that came out and did a Facebook Live and talked about his experience and his relationship with Janda for about over 10 years. And he was 16 at the time when it all started. Okay? And of course, there's other crimes here. And those are the kind of controls that he continues to have over the community. All right, so let me see here. Let's go on to the next one. And enters Puppet Master number 2. Eileen Tocnini. All right. So what are some of the strings that she pulls? All right. So Eileen, as the general counsel to Wat Labo de Wong, has pretty much ring fenced themselves in, right, with legal protection. She's also the secretary and the treasurer for many years. So she has vast control, vast amount of control in concealing corporate records, in concealing cash accounting and financial disclosures. That has been pretty much zero, right? Zero. In one of her videos that was recorded from September 7th, 2019, Eileen makes a public statement to the community. She says that I can account for every penny going back as far as 2000, right? She continues to lie again. She wrote a letter to the community back in 2009 saying that they will have an audit of Wat Lao de Vong books. Okay. And it will be available on around March 2009. It never happened, folks. It never happened. And in 2019, when the scandal broke, they said they're going to turn the financial records worth of 10 years of financial records to an independent auditing company. What we find is the consolidated financial statements says that management chose to omit disclosure according to the principles of GAAP reporting requirements. In addition to that, they said we did not verify the accuracy of the numbers that were provided to them, and they never conducted an audit. Again, Eileen is making statements, lies after lies, that she has no intention of following up on, right? If you can account for every penny back in 2000, what's the harm in sharing that with the rest of the community? That means you have all this information to yourself and you're not disclosing the financial records to the public. And of course, she's part of the group of people that continues to block board elections, right? Year after year, there's no annual meeting, no board election for the last 16 years, okay? And here's the most egregious one of all. We just come to learn recently that she has a power of attorney over Ajahn Bunmi. So she's got that string attached to Ajahn Bunmi for so long, and nobody understood why. And all this time, she keeps saying, I serve the master. I serve the master. Bull crap, Eileen. I call BS. You do not serve the master. If you were to serve the master, you would have never called an emergency meeting on the same day that they discovered the loan. On the same day, August 19th, the same day they discovered the loan, you guys decide to have an emergency meeting at 10 o'clock at night, and the three of you stooges voted to get Ajahn Bunmi out. And then you have the nerve to go tell the community that he is now emeritus chairman of the board, and it's the most prestigious position one can hold. Well, if it was so goddamn prestigious, Eileen, why don't you take it? Why aren't you the emeritus board of directors? You lie to your teeth and you think you can get away with it. You remove Ajahn Bunmi, he has no more influence over the board of directors. He has no ability to vote for anything or change the direction of the board. And you say that is the most prestigious position to be held. Are you seriously smoking crack? You must be. All right, I will move on to the next one now. And what's the other control that she has over the community, right? Forceful intimidation with legal means. What do I mean by that? Trumped up charges against the community, 3 of them, ID theft with intent to defraud. All 3 went to court. All 3 got dropped and dismissed by the judge. The prosecutor declined to prosecute. What does that tell you? What does that tell you, Eileen? Let me tell you what it means to us in the community. It means you're trying to make an example of 1 or 2 or 3 community members in the hopes that they don't continue to challenge what you guys are doing. You want them to go away. You want them to become scared sheeps because the fox or the wolf came after 3. You also have the power of the pen. She wrote the articles of incorporation. She amended the bylaws. She took away the community's voting rights. right? She took away the 6 board seats that belong to the General Assembly. And what about your affiliated businesses? Okay. Janda and Eileen have a tremendous amount of leverage, control over the community over the last 16 years, right? When she pulls a string, your wish is my command. You know who I'm talking about? I'm talking about the current board of directors right now. Whenever Eileen pulls a string, her wish is your command. And Eileen, stop doing that. You're scaring the kids. Here, I'll move this down so you can see it, right? You know, this is very, very scary. And I talk about babies in the previous one because baby is a symbolism of our future. What Lao's future is uncertain right now. And we're terrified. We're terrified about what could potentially happen with Wat Lao Buddha Wong if the board of directors default on the loan. So let's take a look at how Eileen pulls some of the string against the community members. I'm going to move this back up again so you can see it, okay? So what are some of the strings that she has, right? So these are the invisible strings and the hooks she has into the community as well as the board members, right? So the strings, oh, I've been practicing Buddhism over 20 years. I am a Buddhist, just like you, okay? What signal does that send to the community? Well, the puppets that believe her, you know, this is the behavior they're hooked on. Again, ideology. She's one of us. She must be good. Okay? She gets a free pass. She's one of us. She must be good. She serves the master. She keeps repeating that over and over and over and over and over. I serve the master. I serve the master. Shut the hell up, Eileen. Let the master speak for himself. You make that claim so many years, we know you're lying through your teeth, right? But because she says she serves the master, she won't hurt us. So then our behavior is hooked on the fact that we trust the master. So she's transferring that trust from the master and empowering that onto herself. I would bet you, Eileen, that if you came out in 2005 and told the community that you have the power of attorney over Ajahn Bumi and that you can transact financial transactions on his behalf, like selling stock, buying stock, accessing his safety deposit, and up to and including changing his insurance life policy, I think you're going to get a different reaction from the community. So you were hiding all this behind us, your invisible string for so many years, okay? What about your concealment? Financial records, bylaw changes, bylaw amendment changes, right? Cash donations that are coming in. You say you can account for every penny back to 2000? Damn it, show me. Unfortunately, the behavior within the board of directors is that they blindly trust her judgment and they do not challenge her motives. Zenkian, Ile, you guys are the treasurers. You better start getting to work. That includes you too, McCarthy. You are the attorney to represent the entity Wat Lao Buddha Wong. You say that once, you say that twice, and you've said it many times, and we have it on record of a video of you speaking to the congregation on September 7th. You tell everybody that I represent the entity Wat Lao Buddha Wong. Okay? You are not Janda's private attorney. You are not Eileen's private attorney. It is your job to ensure that the board of directors are performing their duty to their fiduciary responsibility. You have a lot of work to do, people. And Eileen comes in as, I am the corporate law expert. Okay? So what does that mean? Well, I'll tell you. As a corporate law expert, right, the board is dependent on her subject matter expertise. Who dares to challenge Eileen in the board? Who dares to challenge Eileen on the board? Even if she did something wrong, who would dare challenge her? Who has these technical expertise to challenge Eileen and say, listen, the bylaws is wrong. And here's why. The Articles of Incorporation is wrong. Here's why. Removing the members' voting rights is probably not a good idea. We shouldn't do it. Who dares to challenge her understanding of the law? Whether she's right or wrong, it's indifferent. Okay? So what happens over time is you create that dependency on a subject matter expert. And of course, they're also hooked on the fact that they're getting free legal advice, right? To the detriment of the board, to the detriment of the community. You seeing what I'm saying now? Sankian, Eli, you think you're getting free legal advice? Take a look very, very closely on what's happening in the background. There's an undercurrent that you need to pay attention to, okay? Don't do this. I know it can be overwhelming and you want to shut down and cover your face, but there's help out there, okay? There's help out there. The community can help. And of course, protection from the outside world, right? As a law expert, I can protect you from the outside world. When these people come to the temple and they start to ask questions, you don't want to hear from them, fine. Here, trespass order, number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, 6, number 7, number 8, 20 trespass orders. You guys don't come to the temple anymore. If you come to the temple, I will have you arrested. And that's exactly what happened with Kubala. So Kubala was arrested for trespassing, even though he lived there for 16 years, and he was jailed for one night, okay? Who in their right mind would go back to Wat Lao Buddha Wong with the fear of being arrested because you have been issued a no trespass order? Seriously. This is one of the areas that I want to talk about a little bit, right, in terms of control. I want to make it clear to everyone here that money works like gravity. It follows a specific set of rules. Gravity is very predictable. Gravity is very, very predictable. Since it's so predictable that mathematicians and astrophysicists can develop algorithms and formulas to predict gravitational pull. If you pick up an orange and you drop it, it hits the floor. If you pick up an orange and you drop it, it hits the floor. That's how gravity works, right? The law of attraction also applies to money. Money follows some very specific rules. Money is a tool. The more money you have, the more money you can make. Money does not evaporate overnight. Money cannot disappear on its own. Money does not have that power. A $5 bill today is going to be a $5 bill tomorrow, and a $5 bill the next day. It just doesn't disappear. Now, it may lose value because of inflation, right? So those are specific guidelines and rules that money behaves under, but it doesn't just disappear. Now, it's hard to keep track of, right? It's hard to keep track of, but with due diligence, the treasurer can track all this. And because of her words, she says, I can account for every penny going back as far as 2000. Well, what happened to all the unaccounted money, right? So we have the sources of money coming in. We have loan money that's coming into Wat Lao Buddha Wong. We have money that's coming in from the community for funeral processions, right? And we also have monies for special events and special projects that are coming in. There's different ceremonies and so on and so forth. And we also have big festivals. This is a cash cow, right? So essentially what happens here is Wat Lao Buddha Wong is a cash cow. With all that money is coming in, right? What are some of the specific things an individual can have to control that money? Okay. Some of that money goes towards legitimate expenses. We know that. There's bills to pay for utilities, things they have to pay for food, right? And there's many other things that can be accounted for in terms of legitimate expenses. If you have a New Year party, Hiring a singer, that's a legitimate expense. Renting equipment for whatever you need it for, that's a legitimate expense. But then there's a large sum of money that the community wants to know, the unaccounted amount of money, okay? And we talked about previously, that's in excess of over $1 million, right? So within the organization, Eileen is a legal counsel. What does her role have to do with anything, right? And then she's also a director, she's also the secretary, and she's also the treasurer. One person holds so many positions, right? Do you think Eileen as a legal counsel will tell Eileen as a treasurer, hey, I don't disagree with what you're doing with that cash? Do you think Eileen as the director will tell Eileen as a secretary, hey, I want to see those meeting minutes being published to the public? Do you think Eileen as the director will tell Eileen, the treasurer, hold on a second, why are we spending this much money to take a trip to Wat India? This has nothing to do with what La would have won, right? You think all these people inside her head will argue with each other when something is wrong. So for example, when she changed the bylaw to remove the members' voting rights, did Eileen, the treasurer, go to Eileen, the counsel, and say, Eileen, I don't think that's the right thing to do? Do you think there was a big fight inside her head? No. As a director, she can control and influence the direction of the board. There's only 3 people on the board of directors. When there's a small group of people control of the board, a lot of bad things can happen because they grow into what we call group think. There is no sounding board that can come in, a prevailing voice that says, guys, I don't believe this is the right thing to do, right? So the 3 of them make a decision on their own. They control and influence the board. So is the legal counsel, Eileen, telling the director, Eileen, that removing, not having an election for over 16 years is wrong? Because if that legal counsel is somebody else other than Eileen, the legal counsel could tap the board of directors on the shoulder and say, guys, it says on the articles of incorporation that the members will be selected for the board and that we are going to have an annual meeting, right? Each and every single year, you guys have waived an annual meeting, so you don't have to have an election. Is Eileen the legal counsel telling Eileen, the director, that is the wrong thing to do? I don't believe so. And she controls access to corporate records, right? So we have written letters, right? I've seen the letters from the community that have been written and sent to the board of directors. Is the legal counsel, Eileen, telling the secretary, Eileen, that you need to release the public information because IRS requires us to do it? If the community is asking for the articles of incorporation, you need to provide it to them. Is Eileen the legal counsel telling Eileen, the secretary, to do that? I don't think so. As a treasurer, right? She says, I can account for every penny going back to 2000. Where are the documents? As a board of director, Eileen, is the director of Eileen, the board of director Eileen telling the treasurer Eileen, hey, we need to make our public information available to the public, right? We need to make financial information available to the public. Because even on the IRS forms that we received in 2006, it says that you must make, right? You are required, okay, to make your records available to the general public. And there are penalties that they can suffer from if they don't meet those requirements. As a director, is Eileen the director telling the treasurer, Eileen, what you're doing is wrong and this is the right way to do it? No. Too much control and too much influence in the hand of one person. And so over time, the community has been asking me, why haven't the community fought back? Why hasn't the community fought back? Well, let me ask you a question. Have you ever seen a puppet cut its own string? Unless you're a Pinocchio, and I think that's probably the only puppet that's ever gotten away with it, right? Have you ever seen a puppet cut its own string? If the answer is no, then you understand why. The community have been fighting for the last 20 years, okay? But they're still under the same level of control. Those strings that she has, she still can control access to financial records. She still has control over the financial disclosures and reporting. She still can control the board of directors. She still controls the bylaws and the articles of incorporation. So is the community fighting back? Yes, we are. What about her affiliated businesses, right? So this is an area that's kind of crazy in my mind. So when our investigation team started to look into this, we go, well, hold on a second. If Eileen had filed for bankruptcy back in 2011, subsequent to that, very close to it, in 2012, the board of directors all of a sudden passed a board resolution. They want to borrow $750,000. But they ended up taking $660,000. Okay. So those funds have been distributed. And we saw that 50% goes to what Labudawong, so they claim, but we don't know what happens at the back end, right? Just because I send money to an entity in overseas, I have no idea who actually owns the account and what happens. So we want to see some invoice, right? Expenses. What about the $330 something thousand to what Labudawong? Okay. We don't know. Right? And each time this loan gets refinanced, what we see is that additional principals keep getting added on top of the loan. So now it becomes a perpetual loan. We saw from the last episode that the total amount by the time the loan gets paid off in 2022, it would be $697,000, which is above the principal amount back in 2012. Eileen has put us in this perpetual loan scheme that we don't seem to have a good way to get out. Total loan interest over years have been in excess of $243,000. Okay. And what about the cash donations and funds? All this money that's coming in, right? And so then what else is going on the other side of the fence? Okay. So we have all these questions and we're looking for answers. And what we're finding is that Eileen has a consulting businesses. She has multiple polo businesses. She has an investment business. She has real estate investment businesses, and she invests in horse, right? There's companies out there that deal with horses and other miscellaneous businesses that she's spun up over the years, okay? In addition to that, she provides legal services, okay, to monks, right? Yeah, I said monks. No, not that kind of services. Immigration services. Oh, we hope it's immigration services, right? I said horses. Yes, I did say horses. No, seriously, horses. I know, horses. So let's take a look at some of the things that are happening, right? Previously, we looked at the entities that have been created. So you can see here, the oldest entity that is Eileen is control of is what Labudawong from 1989. The second one is the company that she started from 1999. And so about a decade has gone by and just quiet, okay? And then in 2008, she spun up another company that has an associated to her to this address here, 22923 Carter's Farm Road, Lane. This is her family farm, okay? So all the documents from what Labudawong is being sent to her family farm, right? Why the family farm and not the temple itself? Okay, so that's another question. Of course, this is her personal business, right? That she's in charge of. She's a registered agent, and you have seen registered agents here for other companies too. But why is the mail being sent to her house? That we don't know. So we have more questions than answers, right? So 2009, another company. Two companies starts to pop up in 2009. 2011 is when we know she went into financial distress, right? So only one company spun up. 2012, one company. 2013, another company. And then 2015, 1, 2, 3, and the list continues to grow. What's going on here? When she moves to Florida, what we find is that she has about 11 businesses in Florida. And then on top of the 17 business that she had in Virginia, combined to be over 28 businesses. So we don't understand the relationship between one person and 28 businesses, right? So the question is, why so many? Why so many? And here's a list of the companies that are in Florida. And right, we talked about Vice Enterprise before. This is about malice, right? So I guess maybe she's graduating to a level of mastery that she would be so bold as to say, "Hello, I will take care of the Vice," right? No, I did not say Miami Vice. I said Vice Enterprise, Don. Chill out, dude. So we see that in 2007, Allegrante Junos, the company that she owns, bought property in Florida for $349,000. And right around November, she filed a quit claim. We have no idea why she filed a quit claim, putting the value at $10, right? So she herself had withdrawn as a deed owner, and now she's leaving the asset to the corporation. Well, she is still the registered agent for the company. So what's the deal? And around 2019 is when things beginning to heat up with Lao Budawong, right? We know that on October, in around September, right, there was a lawsuit filed against her, correct? There was a lawsuit filed against her, okay? That bled into October, and around November timeframe, we see that she's filed a quit claim. It looks to me like somebody is trying to protect her assets in the off chance that she lose a lawsuit. That's just speculation on my part, but these movements that happen would indicate to me nobody gives up $349,000 for $10. And if I'm wrong about this, and if there's another circumstance that would lead her to do this, then come and talk about it. Help explain to us what happened there, Eileen, because it smells really, really bad. At the time that you liquidated this from your name, so that you're not as listed as the owner, it looks to me you're taking assets and then putting that behind the shell corporation, Alagamente Junos. So in the off chance that you lose the lawsuit, they can't seize this property, right? And something else that happened here, okay? There's another property that she liquidated in around the same time. And this one was sold for $449,000, right? So who owns this company? Eileen is the registered agent. And again, this infamous farmhouse that you have here with 13 some businesses using this address as their mailing address, right? Sold this property for $1.2 million in 2018. Okay. And in 2011, yes, she did file for bankruptcy. So how does it come to be that someone was in financial distress in 2011, and then shortly after that, a big gigantic loan was taken out from Wat Lao Budawong, and somehow or another, the financial position of Eileen has improved. So Eileen, my interpretation of the data that I see here seems to suggest foul play. And if I'm wrong, I would love to hear your explanation. You can reach out to me on Facebook, and you can come and explain to the community. And you can say, no, 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 David. No, 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 no. That's not what happened. Okay. And I may even take your word for it if you have supporting evidence to back your claim, because I've seen enough of your speech that I know you can blatantly lie to your teeth and keep a straight face. So Eileen and the companies that she has. So the company on the left here is the company that we talked about that invests in property. The company on the right is Valley Finance, okay? And it also invests in property and other means as well. And it also owns another company, right, as a registered agent, CBS, Equine, where? How do you pronounce that? It's about horses, right? Remember, okay, Puppy, I told you that it was about horses, right? Equine is about horses, horse laws, right? So Presidia Consulting, remember we saw that one that was spun up in 1999, okay? Presidia Consulting has control over all these companies that you see here. It has control over Morales and Morales Enterprise, Legal Aid Services or Society of Middleburg, Destiny Polo Club, horses, Middleburg Polo Academy, horses, and the Blacksmith Corporation. I'm sure that has something to do with horses. There's two polo clubs here. No, this one is supposed to be one. There's a typo. Branberry Cross Polo Club, and then Branberry Cross 2 Polo Club, right? Who is the controlling interest? Presidia Consulting. Presidia Consulting. So what does that smell like to you? Okay. Some of you out there who know this stuff better than I do, you tell me. You tell me what this is all about. And what is this Virginia Ecological Solution Foundation? What is that all about? And why is it that the controlling entity is Presidia Consulting? I don't know. I don't know. We are just taking information that's readily available to us from multiple sources. One of them is the Virginia SEC, which is the the Secretary of State. They hold all this information in their database. Anybody can go in there and look up these companies and they will pull up the information. You can look at the registered agent, you can look at the annual report, and you can see when these companies have been incorporated. There's a history, there's a filing history that you can look through, okay? And what's the relationship here with Labo de Wong and Eileen and all these companies? I'm sure most of you have seen this game, right? I'm sure most of you have seen this game. What's the relationship between Wat Labo de Wong and Eileen and all these entities? I don't know. I don't know. But what I know is each and every time I play this little 3-ball cup thing with a street vendor, I can never win. Whether it's with a cup or whether it's with 3 cards. Somehow or another, the first few times that you make a bet, you win something. And then you make a bigger bet thinking that you can take more money from the vendor. And then you make a bigger bet, right? It's called a setup. So I mentioned Valley Finance, okay? And this one is important, right? Because Valley Finance was started by Mr. Kong, who also owns the construction company. So what does Valley Finance have to do with Eileen? Well, Eileen became the registered agent for Valley Finance, okay? And we can pull this from the SEC database. You see right here, Mr. Kong, right, used to be the registered agent. He started out as the sole organizer of this organization, and he's the one that owns it, okay? He's the one that runs it. But you see this address here, 222-921 Hill Road. So this is an address that's registered as part of the corporation back in 2013, okay, right? And when that changed, the registered address now goes to Eileen, right? So they're still, both of these individuals are using the same PO box number, it seems like, right? So now all of a sudden, there's this connection that's being made now between Kong and Eileen. I will have more to say about that later, but for now, I want to show you what happened with Presidia Consulting. Remember that company that has controlling interest over all these other companies? if you're able to see this, great. But what happened then is an article of surrender being submitted to the state of Virginia in 2018. This entity, right? Eileen basically says, I'm going to surrender this entity because I now live in Florida. So all of its assets and everything that it holds, all the things that has been accumulated under this corporation now moves with her. And guess what's the name of the company? Ike's Law. This is her current law firm in Florida. This is her current law firm in Florida. So what does that mean? I have no idea. I have no idea, but it just smells so bad from where I sit. Right? When it comes to control, everybody wants control. Okay? Everybody wants control. Okay? When it comes to these two guys, not everybody should have it, right? Just because everybody wants control, it doesn't mean everybody should have it. Because unchecked and unrestrained control that we have seen leads to self-interest and self-dealing over that of the community interests. We have Eileen saying over and over again, I serve the master, I serve the master. It is not the master's desire. I don't think Ajahn Bunmi would say, oh, well, what about all these businesses that we have? Let's spin it up. So you're going to be moving to Florida. Okay, so we need to liquidate the assets here and move it over there. I don't think that's Ajahn Bunmi's intent. Honestly, I would just negate what she says. When she says, I serve the master, I think it's the other way around. I think it's the master that's being used to serve Eileen. She has the power of attorney over him. She can pull the strings, right? And of course, these two especially should never have that much power, that much control. Because over the last 16 years, it's gone downhill. Wat Lao Buddha Wong has gone downhill. In its peak, in its prime, for Independence Day, 20,000, 30,000 people would come to Wat Lao Buddha Wong. And when people come to Wat Lao Buddha Wong, they walk away with a certain sense of pride of ownership, that our community, the Lao community, was able to build such a magnificent and iconic temple. That is no longer true these days. That is no longer true these days. You guys have soiled and tainted Buddhism in such a way that you ought to be ashamed of yourself. Okay? So control in the wrong hands since 2003. I'm going to move this out of the way a little bit so you can see. Control in the wrong hands since 2003. So let's review what that looks like. All right. No annual meeting since 2003. No board election since 2003. The public has no access to corporate records whatsoever until more recently. Okay? And the reason why they start to publish all this information is because they declared it in their complaint against the community that they will make the records public. But here's the thing. You receive a letter from the IRS that tell you that the public has the right to inspect corporate records, but you ignored it. You don't give the public access to financial records or reporting. In the September 7th video that I've seen with the meeting, Eileen says nobody reached out to me to get paperwork on the loan. Well, if you make it available to the public, they would access it and they can ask you some intelligent questions about it. Why wasn't that available to the public? People have asked you 4 accounting practices since 2009. The advisory board identified too much money in the petty theft account. No accountability, no transparency in the accounting processes and procedures. You promised the community back in 2009 that you would conduct an audit, and yet you have not delivered that. And you have the kahunas to come into a meeting September 9th and say, I can account for every penny going back to 2000. They removed the members' voting rights. They removed the General Assembly's voting rights. They removed the 6 board seats. And of course, the Wat Lao Budavong Board of Directors, the Three Stooges, concentrated more power on control upon themselves. And in addition to that, they use intimidation and retaliatory actions to fight off public outcry. We've seen a pattern, abuse of power and elder abuse. And I say elder abuse because our elders in the 60s and 70s have been treated so badly by Eileen. She has removed their religious rights, their ability to go to Wat Lao Budavong to practice their religion. Palung Singh's brother passed away, and they could not hold a funeral procession at their beloved Wat Lao Budavong. If that is not elder abuse, I can't think of anything else that is. Okay? If that's not the abuse of power, I can't think of anything else that is. And of course, they use the law to ring fence themselves from authorities, right? She writes to the police department, shows them the SEC file. Oh, we are the legal board of directors. Here's what we filed. But she's not telling them the whole truth. She's not telling them the whole truth. And then she goes to tell the police department, the sheriff's department, I am the legal counsel for Wat Lao Budavong. Lack of accountability and transparency, right? To stakeholders, members, and general public. So in that video of September 7th, a question was asked to the board of directors, the 4 of them. Who nominated you? Who elected you as the board of directors? Because prior to that, there were 16 board of directors. Those people were put in office because of election, okay? And then when they reinstated the corporation, Eileen took it upon herself and her cronies, right? The Three Stooges, and they appointed themselves as the board of directors, and then they went to modify the bylaws so that they have complete control about who gets to sit on the board. This is what's happening in our community right now, right? This is what's happening with the community right now. Families are not talking to each other, okay? Brothers and sisters don't talk over this issue that Chanda has created, okay? And then of course you have people here that are being controlled by Chanda and Eileen, right? Through their lies, okay? Parents aren't talking to their children. Aunts and uncles are not talking to each other. And of course we have 7 community members are now under financial jeopardy as a result of it, okay? Eileen, she cannot muster restraint against her greed. She is a prisoner of her greed. Chanda is a prisoner to his self-interest. Those are the invisible strings that they cannot break either, right? And those strings that manifest in the way they control the community. Sankian can't cough unless Eileen's hands move. Bun and Spin Doctor Tong, their mouths only move when Chanda moves his hand. And the new board of directors blindly take a seat where Eileen tells them. All the meanwhile, we forget that our elders are passing away without closure. They have been fighting this war for 20 years, and some of them are passing away without closure. I firmly believe that truth is the only thing that can cut the strings and set us free. I truly believe that. Okay? I truly believe that we can set ourselves free. We can be the puppet that cut the string from Eileen and Janda, but we can't do it alone. We have to do one string at a time, right? One string at a time. You remember the power of the cloth? Janda has the power of the cloth. And what did the community do? The community came together. The community came together and they cut the string, right? You can no longer control us with the power of the cloth. Janda, you are defrocked. He is no longer a monk in the eyes of the community, Buddhist community. He has been defrocked. He's no longer a monk. Eileen still has a tremendous amount of control. So we got to figure out how we go about cutting one string at a time. We have to free ourselves from her control. One string at a time. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy because they, like I said, have put a legal ring fence around themselves for protection. But I firmly believe we can do it. We're going to need help. And we're going to need help from the collective Lao community to work with Lao Global Heritage Alliance and start cutting the strings. Okay? And the strings that we must cut must be must be done very strategically. Because these two clowns, these two stooges, have been in control for over 16 years. They have stuck their needle so deep inside some individuals, it's hard for them to cough without Eileen moving her hands, right? So we must cut the strings. We must cut their control. We must detach ourselves from their control. So one of the ways that you can help the community in Virginia cut the strings is you share our LGHA's broadcasts, my broadcasts, the social mediums broadcast, Mali's broadcast, our elders coming out to speak, okay? Help get the truth out. Get the truth out. Talk to your friends, talk to your family about what Lao Buddha Wong scandal. What are the moving pieces? Who's doing what over the years? Okay? We have all that information on Lao Global Heritage Alliance. Look at the chronology of events. Join LGHA as an active member. It's $10 annual fee, but as an active member, you get to vote for the board of directors. And this is taking an active participation in fighting against corruption. You can join LGHA as a non-active member, right? There's no membership fee. You can join as a member without paying a fee. A non-member, a non-active member will not have voting rights for officer election and board election. Help create awareness of LGHA fundraising campaign. We will have those fundraising campaigns throughout the year. We have a legal lawsuit that we're supporting. It's going to cost money. Okay? So one of the ways that you can help is to create awareness. Talk to your friends, talk to your family about a fundraising campaign. You can sign up for Fight for Justice sponsorship. That's $30 a month. Okay? We're looking for about 100 people to sign up. I myself and my wife have signed up. The board of directors of LGHA have signed up. The officers have signed up because we truly believe in what we're trying to do against Jandya and Eileen. We believe that corruption has no place in society and it is our job to stop them. I hope our viewing audience will join and sign up for the Fight for Justice sponsorship. You can also participate in LGHA events, right? We have golf tournaments that are going to be coming up this year when it's safe to do so. We're going to have fundraising events locally in Virginia. So you can participate in LGHA fundraising event to help. And each time you participate, you are going to be helping us cut the string one at a time, okay? And the most important thing here is to protect Buddhism. there's a lot of pervasion of Buddhist practice over the years. So much that the cultural practice has blurred into the hardcore Buddhist practice. We have been very fortunate to have Paulu Mahabodhran, who is a Buddhist expert, law expert. We have Paulung Tongjan, who's also a Buddhist law expert. And we have a number of other people within our community that are coming out to talk about Buddhism. So over time, we have learned about Buddhism through word of mouth. And over time, the word of mouth has continued to kind of lean towards more self-interest than about the actual religion itself. So tune in and watch the broadcast that my wife hosts with our elders. Watch and learn from Buddhist subject matter experts. And they can tell you where the foundation of Buddhism comes from, right? One example I told you earlier is a monk who supports Janda. He also holds a high position in the monk council. He says that penetration halfway doesn't count. That's not what I learned growing up about Buddhism. Okay, but these are the kind of people that will make and bend the rules and the laws in their favor, right? To sedate the public, not to challenge them, so they continue to have authority and control. If all Buddhists are aware of the Buddhist laws and teaching and disciplines, that is one of the best ways that we can protect Buddhism. As Buddhists around the world, all of us have a responsibility to protect Buddhism. And I believe, on his last day, Buddha said to his disciples that Buddhism will carry it on because of four people: the monks, the nun, man, and woman. Okay? Nowhere in there does it say only the monks, because monks require subsistence, food, clothing, right? And who provides those benefits to them? The community. And unfortunately, these people are now beginning to cannibalize our trust. They're beginning to act like cancer, eating the host slowly over time until the host dies. Our business affiliates sign up, be part of LGHA network, okay? Because it does require community support for us to fight this fight that we have in front of us. We cannot do it alone. We will need help from all corners of society. So there are different ways that you can help. You can make a donation directly to LGHA through Venmo. So what you want to look for is admin at LGHA alliance.org, or you can search by the phone number 571-383-4369. You can also search for the organization name itself, Lao Global Heritage, and that will pop up on Venmo. On PayPal, you can do that with admin at lghalliance.org. You can also mail the checks to Lao Global Heritage at this address, 4270 John Marr Drive, number 1783. You can also go to FundMe online, and you can make a contribution by clicking on the link and make a donation to LGHA. And you can also do online donation at LGHA website under donation. So if you follow this link, you can get there and you can make a donation. And I also want to let the community know that LGHA currently has the gold seal of transparency, which is one level below the platinum seal. So you have bronze, then you have silver, and then you have gold, right? So we are at gold, and the organization is currently actively pursuing a platinum seal, okay? So in terms of us following good governance with nonprofit bylaws, to be awarded a gold seal of transparency is a big, big deal. The vast majority of the nonprofits out there, if you look at GuideStar, you can open an account, you can create your own account. You can go there and look at all the nonprofits that are listed there. Only a small handful of organizations have the golden seal of transparency. And so we're going to continue to pursue being the elitists of the elite, which means we want to get to platinum seal. That's the highest level of transparency. All right, so from LGHA, I want to thank all of our folks around the world. Okay. We have the board of directors, officers, and volunteers that work tirelessly to fight against injustice and corruption. We have our social media team who are on air. You know, the amount of time they put into this, it's just, you can't pay them enough, right? And they don't want to get paid. They do this out of the goodness of their heart. You know, every week we have about 15 hours of broadcast from various different individuals that come out and volunteer their time. IG Man leading that charge. Lee, Tuni, Tommy, Crystal, Christy, Mali, who's leading the social media team. My wife Mali leading the social media team. We have Paulung Wat, I Tui, I Gail, I Zero, I Da, all of our community members who don't live in Virginia. Okay, they don't live in Virginia, not all of them, but they're all coming together to create awareness with a social media team. So I want to thank those individuals for your sacrifice, for coming and telling the truth, your personal experience with Janda, and some of the things you have seen and witnessed, and some of the things that you really want to talk about, right? Asking questions. And of course, we want to thank our donors from around the US and around the world. Without your support, we wouldn't make it this far. We continue to ask for your support. And I also want to, thank our viewers from around the world. The last time I look at our Facebook statistics, I see followers from around the world. I kid you not, from Laos, Argentina, France, Canada, right, and around the United States. Okay, we have people from New Zealand even coming in, Switzerland coming in, right, and then maybe a few from China actually tuning in to look. And it's, I'm just really touched that this issue is something that the collective Lao community has vested interest in. It is our job. You don't have to be in Virginia to protect Buddhism. You don't have to be in California to protect Buddhism. As long as Buddhism is in your heart, then we all can work together and protect the religion. Get corrupted actors out of power. They don't belong there. They're cancer. They're cannibalizing our religion for their own personal benefits and self-interest. All right, so that brings me to a close from that episode, and then we'll talk about what the next episode is going to look like. I will make an announcement of it soon. Okay. I know. Don't get too upset now. I promise you I will announce it. I just don't want to talk about it right now. It's a little bit of a mystery, right? I want to keep that as a little bit of a mystery. But I'm sure if you're watching the broadcast from start to finish, I drop a lot of hints in terms of what the next episode may look like. Okay. No, I'm not going to tell you what it is. Not on this episode. You're going to just have to tune in. And just like everybody else, you're just going to have to wait. Okay. All right. Yeah, well, I'm sad, but just hang in there. Okay. Okay. So I need to take a quick break, and then what I'll do is I'll come back and I will answer some questions that people may have. But before I do that, I want to play a video. Let me see here. I just want to make sure that we're not going to run into the same issue that we had previously. So there might be some issues with copyright. And so I wanted to play The Wind of Change. That might not be a great idea because the theme song that we were using for the uh, Game of Thrones wasn't well received. I think there might be some copyright violation there, even though we're nonprofit. And let me see here. Let me find a different video. Let's see if we can do that one. So I will take a quick break and I'll be back. Let me go change this. Okay. Let me go back here. This video was put together by the team. It's a great video. I want to play it again because it's the beginning of the new year. We have accomplished a lot in 2020. It's always great to look back in time to see all the hard work that our community has put together to put this the defrocking event together. And again, the Virginia community, the community within Maryland, DC area, plus the collective Lao community around the United States and around the world, we did something that was historical. We all came together with our hearts and mind and with our desire to rid tainted monks from our religion. We came together and we defrocked a monk for the very first time in US history. That's never been done before. That's never been done before. And so I'm going to play this video here. right. Okay, so we're gonna take a look at some of the questions people may have of the broadcast. Let me just change this a little bit here and bring this up. Okay, let's look at the comments that you may have. Um, One of the questions here from viewing audience is saying, can still share account with Janda, still own 3 or 4 houses in Virginia? Uh, that I don't know. Uh, there's been rumors circulating. My hair, like I said, this kind of stuff scares me. My hair is all standing up. We don't know. We don't know. I think that we can certainly demand from the board of directors to declare where they have self-interest, right? The conflict of interest, they call it. So the conflict of interest is a required, I would say, guideline by the IRS that has to be reviewed by the board of directors on an annual basis. So keep in mind that not all board of directors that come on to a nonprofit organization may have understanding of the requirements from the IRS. And so I think it's important to review that with the board of directors. Now, whether or not the board of directors, the current board of directors of Wat Lao Budawong have done that, we don't believe they have because it's not captured anywhere in the meeting minutes. It's nowhere in the training. So we don't know that that's been done. And if you look at Wat Lao Budawong Guide Star, you can see that one of the questions they ask, right? Because they keep touting, oh, we have platinum seal, we have platinum seal. But yet in the self-declaration, you look at one of the questions that was asked is that has the board of directors have an annual review of the conflict of interest? And they marked not applicable. I don't know what to tell you, okay? That is a requirement by the IRS and they say not applicable. That tells you where their head is at, right? And let's see what other questions and comments put here. Okay, here's another question. Do we have a right to ask Eileen and Chanda to bring back the money to the temple? I think that's the right thing to do. Especially if the board of directors violated the 3 legal duties. I believe the law says that they can be held personally liable. So the 3 legal duties for all board directors in any nonprofit organization is the legal duty of care. That means the congregation, the membership for which you have interests, right? The community interests. You have to care about those people. You have to care about your mission statement and your vision statement and how you execute on those things. So the duty of care, the duty of loyalty, meaning that you serve public interests. You don't serve self-interest, you serve public interest. How does it benefit the public? How does it benefit the community when $243,000 goes to pay a financial institution for the loans that the board of directors choose to take out? And the duty of obedience. The duty of obedience is you have to follow the rules and regulations of the local, which is the state level, right? City level, state level, and federal level. So there's a lot of laws out there that govern nonprofit, and you have to adhere to all of them. You don't get to pick and choose which ones you want to follow. Spin Dr. Tom. Transparency is required by the IRS. So from that standpoint, the injured parties, that can take some remedy to address that. All right, so let's see what else we have here. How soon will Janda have to travel to Hong Kong? That I don't know. Another comment was made, Janda will pay for the loan. I hope that's the case. I hope so. I mean, there's a substantial amount of cash donations over the years that have been unaccounted for. If we take it for Eileen's word that she can account for every penny going back as far as 2000, then we would definitely want to see what that looks like. Okay. And where is the audit, right? It's been promised to the community since 2009. Where is it? It's been promised, kind of implied to the community back in 2019 in the Washington Post article reporting that 10 years of the financial statements have been turned over to an independent auditing company. Where's the audit? So that we don't know. So another question was posed here. Are all the new board of directors responsible for all the corruption made by previous ones? Well, I think it's their responsibility to protect the entity. So if their colleagues are engaged in self-dealing, are engaged in criminal activities, whether it's embezzlement or laundering, upon learning about it, it's their responsibility to prevent it. Okay, that goes for McCarthy as well, the attorney for the entity Wat Lao Buddha Wong. It's also his job to ensure that there is no self-dealing that goes against the law. So are the board of directors responsible? Well, the treasurer, San Kian, and Ile, it's your job to account for every penny going back as far as 2000. You need to have some really tough conversations with Eileen because you can't say we don't know. If you don't ask questions and if you don't look into it, then you are not following your duty. You have a fiscal fiduciary responsibility as a treasurers to do that. And as board of directors, it is your job to protect the corporation from corrupt actors. All right, some other questions here being posed. What other comments are being made? It's a cool hair. Yeah, I know. It's kind of, I'm telling you, once you start looking into this stuff very deeply, it's pretty scary. It scares the bejeebies out of me, right? Because the board of directors have broad power and it's their job to, and the reason why they have broad power is in the interest of the public. The public, okay? And we know that when board of directors are elected, when they're elected, they serve public interests. When they're handpicked, they serve the puppet master. They serve the interests of the puppet master, not the public. All right, let me see if there's any other comment here that says DMV are the best Lao community. They stick together like sticky rice. You got it. You got it. I've seen it. It's just incredible the amount of heart that the Virginia community has within DC, District of Columbia, Maryland, and Virginia. It's so amazing. And it's because of that cohesiveness that we're able to get others, not only in Virginia or in that area, but across 50 states participating. I want to do a special shout out to our friends, Polly and Ali had made this cup for Lao Global Heritage for Team Mali. And she sent this to us as a gift. Ali and Polly are both are the first two that signed up for our LGHA Business Network Alliance. We appreciate their support. They have made contributions, personal contributions and donations to LGHA. So thank you so much. You guys are awesome. Sorry, you gals are awesome. You ladies are awesome. And of course, they are also making contributions from their business to LGHA because they firmly believed in what we're doing. Okay. Oh, there was a comment made here that Nang Le said at the beginning she had no problem to pay off uh, off the loan. I heard that over and over again, and I think I've seen videos of her interrupting a meeting, and she says that she will. And so, well, it's been close to a year. So where is it? Right? Is she what? Did she graduate from the College of Silver Tongue with Janda? Does she have a silver tongue too now? It would seem that way because these promises have been made and those promises haven't been kept. So if the board of directors are handpicked because they all graduated from the College of Silver Tongue, well, then that would explain why they have all been extremely silent, right? They're not reporting back to the community. They're not talking to the community. The community has asked for general elections, and that hasn't happened. The community has asked to access corporate records, and that has not happened. So the secretary, Eileen, that's your job. Your days of concealment are over. Let's see what other comments we have here. There's quite a few. And I've seen, for those of you who need a link, I know I showed that on my broadcast. If you need a link to go and donate, scroll in the comment section. Some individuals put the link down there in the comment section. Would really appreciate your support. I know that there's many different ways to support, and I know that the economy right now is kind of in a tanker. So every dollar that you provide and donate to LGHA is just that so much. It just means so much to us, given today's current environment. Okay. And let's see, what else do we have here? Yeah, the mug is really cool, right? Question coming in here is, who's going to pay the loan? Well, I think all of us, that is a great question, and that's a question I would love to listen to have a conversation with the treasurer, the two treasurers. So Sang Kian and Nang Le. If you guys are watching this, the question to you is, who is going to pay for the loan? Is it going to be Janda? Is it going to be Eileen? Right? Eileen liquidated $2 million worth of property. So is it going to be Eileen? Who's going to pay for the loan? Is it going to be Buta? Right? Rumor has it when he moved to Texas, when asked about the $200,000, he says that his children, two of his children gave him the money. So what can I say? Well, what I can say. What more can I say? Who's going to pay for the loan? Sankian, that question is to you. You are the treasurer. You are also a board of directors. And of course, Nang Le. That question is for you. You're the treasurer. Okay. You guys are the keeper now of the financial health of Wat Lao Budaong. Who's going to pay for the loan? Because the community has been paying for that loan since 2012. Unbeknownst to them, the donation money that went into Wat Lao Budaong was used to pay for the loan. And the community says, hold on a second. Why are we holding the bag? $243,000 of our hard-earned money have gone to banking institutions. It has not benefited us as a community. You have not built new roads. You have not constructed new buildings for the community center that's promised to the community. You have not made soccer fields that the community can use and benefit from. There's no dance programs that's available, language classes. So all these things, where did the money go? Because if you were making $300,000 or you were getting $300,000 in annual donations, you could have paid for that loan years ago. And when you guys took out, refinanced the loan, why do you guys keep clawing more money from it? Why do you keep adding more principal into the loan to back it up to where it was before? So $660,000 that were taken in 2012 is now going to be about $697,000 by the time the loan is completely paid off, right? Who's going to pay for the loan? Is Chanda paying? You know, he's living the life of a superstar, right? A rock star monk. He should have money to pay for it. In fact, wasn't he the one that also said, I'm going to raise money to pay for the loan? That I'm going to ask my people, right? My circle of influence for $2,500 per person or temple, right? He's going to go to each of those temples that are part of the monk council, and he's going to raise $2,500 from them, and he's going to pay off the loan. We're still waiting. Chanda, we are waiting. All right, let's see what else is being discussed here. I'm going to scroll back a little bit. And if you have an urgent question that I missed, maybe during the beginning of the broadcast, feel free to just type it in here now because I'm scrolling through the comments. And I will, let's see here. Well, okay. So, Sankian and Eli, you guys are the treasurer. If nobody's paying for the loan, are you going to go kai gon ba? Huh? Are you going to go you kai your gon hai chanda ba? I mean, where's that money going to come from? So somebody has to pay for that loan, and the community is saying we never approved it. So somebody's going to have to kai gon. Sankian, I think you might be the first one to go, right? Eli, grab your ankles. You got 500 something thousand dollars to make up. You might have to go full time, might have to go overtime. Okay. Yeah, there's other things that's Dr. Tom, right? Spin Dr. Tom. Okay. He seems to be defending everything that's corrupt about what they do. Okay. So maybe, he could negotiate with State Farm and say, hey, that 75,000 settlement stuff that was going on there, could I maybe take half of that and, contribute it to Wat Labudawong as a good cause to show that I'm a decent, upstanding citizen to protect the religion? I don't know. Right? And what about Janda's brother who came out here to become a monk, right? And somehow or another, he just said, I have enough of this. And he goes back to Laos, he gets married, and he starts his own business. It's been rumored that he went back to Laos with, over $200,000, right? So where did all that donation money disappear to? We don't know. We really don't know. And all these businesses that's affiliated with Eileen, we have no idea. We have no idea whether this money has stayed within state lines and around businesses. We have no idea. We have no idea if those donation amounts have crossed state lines. So other words, from temple to temple, we have no idea. And we don't know if there's some additional money that's been, gone overseas, right? Wat Labudawong, we don't know, right? Wat Labudawong to what India, we've seen some transactions. So we know there's money that's gone overseas. Some of those transactions were published in the Wat Labudawong website. For the very first time, they make a full disclosure. Okay. So the evidence that we see are evidence that have been hidden from public eyes for many, many, many years. And so now we're able to look at these transactions and see these wire transfer receipts for the construction of Wat Labudawong, sorry, for Wat India. But I also heard that the construction of Wat India was completed in 2012, right? So why did you guys borrow money against Wat Labudawong for $600,000 when you tell us that Wat India is worth $3.5 million, at the very minimum, $300.5 million. If Wat India has so much assets, then why are you robbing Peter to pay Paul? That I don't understand. Paul obviously is not poor, Paul being Wat India, Peter being Wat Lao, is now in financial distress. Robbing Peter to pay Paul doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. So until you guys can make sense out of it, don't be surprised if Janda asks you to bend over and kai kun. Sankian, Edile. And maybe the other board of directors will have to do the same. I know Eileen's not going to do it. Right? Eileen's not going to grab her ankles. Right? She won't. She doesn't have to. She liquidated about $2 million worth of real estate. What about you goons? The new board of directors, right? Are you willing to grab your ankle for Janda? I know that was kind of harsh, but the reality of it is going to be sinking in here pretty soon, guys. All right. Let's see, what else do we have? Okay, so it doesn't look like I'm getting any more questions here. With that said, I think I will just end the broadcast. So thanks for sticking with me. It's quite a long broadcast, as is each series that we have. So the Trinity of Evil, power, greed, and control, when they go unrestrained and unchecked, leads to self-interest, leads to self-dealing, leads to their own interest over that of the community interest. Then there becomes this fight for power, fight for control, right? And this has been going on for 20 years. There's never been a board of election since Eileen came into power. Why not? Why not? And Eileen makes the claim that she serves the Lao community. All right, Eileen, here's a question for you. Since 2013, how many public meetings did you have with the Lao community? How many? How many times did you bring out the financial disclosures and said, in 2012, the board of directors are thinking about doing this. We want to borrow money and we want to use that money to do A, B, C, and D. And here's how you can benefit from that as a community. What we're asking for the community to do is support us in this decision, because at the end of the day, it is the community that's going to be paying for that loan. So in many ways, I just come to learn that I have been paying for my neighbor's mortgage and I don't live there. But somehow or another, I ended up paying for his mortgage. If that scenario becomes true, there will be hell to pay because it would be fraud. That would be fraud. But in this case, it is a betrayal of public trust. It is a betrayal of public trust. You have violated your duty of care. You have violated your duty of loyalty, right? What does Wat India have to do with the Virginia community? Wat India is Janda's pet project. There's nothing wrong with having a pet project, but there is something awfully wrong in the way you approached it. You made decisions to finance your pet project and you hold the community responsible for that loan, right? And when the community says, well, we're not going to come to the temple anymore because we feel unwelcome, in fact, it's not just feeling unwelcome, right? Saint Kian previously put out a statement, right? Who's the director says, we don't want you here. We don't want you here, in a response to the community asking for access to the corporate records. He says, we don't want you here. So you tell people to go away, right? And they go away because you threaten them. And then after they go away, you said, hold on a second. You can go away physically, but you have to leave your donation here with us. And because people walked away from your forceful retaliation and your intimidation tactics, then you said, I'm going to sue the hell out of you. These 7 individuals are going to be sued for $5.45 million. Yet, you don't acknowledge that you are the contributing factor. Somehow your greed just blinds you to your own action. Somehow you continue to say, I serve the master, even after you removed him from the board. How the hell are you serving the master now, Eileen? He had to flee from you. He had to flee away from Janda for his safety. And he's been living in Thailand all this time because he's afraid of you guys. How are you serving the master now, Eileen? Janda? How are you guys serving Ajahn Bunmi? And how are you promoting Buddhism? Because right now, there is no Buddhism. Or your version of Buddhism is not our version of Buddhism. So you guys have a lot of explaining to do. When we look at the 3 control factors, right? The Trinity of Evil, power leads to control. Control leads to manipulation. Manipulation leads to concealment. The triangles are all interconnected. However, wherever you want to start, it doesn't matter. They're always going to be interconnected. Some people crave power, right? We saw that. Me wants, right? We must. That's you guys. You have demonstrated that because you took power away from the community by removing their voting rights. But that wasn't enough, right? Then your greed takes over. Your greed then begins to blind you. And in order to satisfy your greed, you exert a certain amount of control, manipulation, concealment. The community cannot fight back. It's a disgrace. You guys are absolute disgrace. You know, Eileen, if you were a monk, you will probably get defrocked too. Chanda, for your part in this whole thing, you have been defrocked. You can no longer use the cloth to blind people, to cover their eyes and cover their ears so they see no evil, hear no evil. You can no longer do that now. Okay, so that string has been cut. And the community will repair itself, and the community will slowly cut away each of those strings over time. The new board of directors, are you at the end of the string? Can you sit if Eileen doesn't tell you to sit? Can you look at the Virginia Non-Stock Act and find codes that have been violated? Are you even going that far? McCarthy, that's your area of expertise. Why aren't you guys looking at what's going on? The community didn't just wake up one day and said, oh, to hell with Janda. This has been going on for 20 years. Unless you wake up, you may be complicit in what's has happened. When you seek too much power, right? Absolute power absolutely corrupts. And with that said, I'm going to end my broadcast for tonight. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for tuning in. Again, LGHA, here, which is behind me, Fight for Justice, right? Community members are coming together. We do need your support. We do need your engagement. Sign up as an active member, sign up as a non-active member. Either way, sign up to be part of the solution for our community. Sign up as the a sponsor for Fight for Justice. And if you're a business owner, reach out to us to see how we can work together. Be part of our business strategic alliance, right? We had one business owner who's leading the fight, who's leading this by example. Polly and Ali, we appreciate so much your support for the community. Even though you and I talk on the phone and you'd say, hey, I fully support you, David, you put your money where your mouth is, right? Or where your heart is. And so we appreciate that very much. And I would encourage all our viewing audience who have been following Polly and Ali. They're very trustworthy people. I've known Polly for many years. She's someone that I can confide in. She's someone that I trust to do the right thing. And she's someone whose heart is with the community. So, support goes both ways, right? Support goes both ways. It can't be one direction. We know what happens when it's one direction. What's happening in Wat Labudawong right now is just a one-way street, okay? You put your money into the donation and then just like, whoa, it's gone, right? So the nice thing about this relationship that Polly and Ali has created with LGHA and with us as an organization is they acknowledge that businesses exist because of community support. And communities exist because of business support. So this relationship between business and community is a very unique relationship. And when it's done right, both thrive. The community thrives and the businesses thrive. And so they became a shining example of how to, reach that, what I call the gold standard. Okay? And that gold standard is that businesses exist to serve the community. The community then in returns supports the business. So that relationship doesn't even exist with the current board of directors in Wat Labudawong. In fact, on the September 7th video, an elderly gentleman made the statement, you are the board of directors, you serve the community. You serve the community, right? That was back in September 7th, right? September 7th, 2019, right? Did they listen? Hell no. Because by February 20th, February 24th of 2020, what did they do instead? They turned around and they stuck a knife in the community's back. They filed a lawsuit against 7 individuals in the Virginia community, right? Now the damages is up to like $5.45 million. How the hell does that serve the community? How the hell does that serve the community? And I keep harping on this point, okay, board of directors, you have to wake up and realize this. The monies that are going into Wat Labudawong come from the Lao community. The board of directors are using Lao money to hire an attorney to sue Lao people for more Lao money. And if that's okay with you, then you're just as sick as Janda. And if anything ever happens to your family, you're going to require community support. After this is all over, I want to know how you guys are going to be walking around town. Do you want me to get you a paper bag with 2 eyeballs on it, right? So you can bury your head in shame when you had the opportunity to right the ship? You chose not to? How are you going to face your grandkids if what Labo de Wo no longer exists because of their doing? These are the questions you have to answer. Because as board of directors, guess what? What they did in the past is now part of your legacy. It's going to be part of your legacy. 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 15 years from now, when people look at Wat Lao Buddha Wong case study after case study, the rise and fall of Wat Lao Buddha Wong, you're going to be on the wrong side of history. People are going to want to know, why didn't you do the right thing? Why did you allow Eileen to use our religion to hurt Buddhists? I don't care what version of Buddhism she practiced over 20 years. It's not my Buddhism. I know it's not your Buddhism either. Okay? But what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? With that said, I bid you all good night. And once again, thank you to our viewing audience for tuning in. If you have follow-up questions that you were not feeling comfortable to put on Facebook to ask, feel free to reach out to me. And again, my commentaries on this show are my commentaries based on evidence that I have and I have seen, and I may at times draw the wrong conclusion. And so I do, keep that in mind. And if you have, conflicting evidence that says, no, what, David, you're completely wrong, feel free to reach out to me. Send it to me in Facebook Messenger. The more people who look into this, the more we begin to understand what the truth is, right? It's no different from the 3 blind men. 3 blind men were standing next to an elephant, and they have to feel the elephant. And then after they feel the elephant, they ask each of those persons to describe what they felt, right? So the reality of one person who's touching the trunk described the elephant as having rough skin and has a trunk. And the person feeling the tail says, I don't feel that. All I feel is the tail. Right? So the master manipulator will turn you into the 3 blind men. Will give you parts of the elephant to feel and tell you that is what an elephant feels like. Until we start having conversations about what you felt, what I felt, and what the other person have felt, you will never know the truth. Because they do that by design. It's called manipulation. Think about that, board of directors. Which part of the elephant are you touching? Good night.